Folks, y'all are about to see multiple videos all mashed together. Well, I'm not mixing them together, but they're going to be one right after another. I'm not going to get. They are going to give you plenty of commentary. We're talking a long video of videos, and it's all covering the DW Enterprise scandal that is going on in New Mexico. As of right now, there has been a lawyer arrested, probably his chief investigator, officers of the Albuquerque Police Department, a deputy of the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, oh, and a New Mexico State police officer. Yes, three different agencies, and there may be more. This was a scandal that, as you will hear, happened for 30 years. Since the 90s. Yep, this all went down for a long time. And all you had to do was get involved with the DUI and pay the right people or give them the right gifts, and you got out of jail free. Also, if you like these sorts of videos, by the way, I'm at 332 as of the last time I checked. Thank you, folks, for that. The people that listen to my videos, hey, thank you. Um, Hit subscribe down below if you haven't subscribed yet. More people watch than are subscribed, and I could really use y'all's help. I've got plans. But got a lot of videos coming up, so stick with me here, and I'll talk with you at the end of the video.
Howdy, y'all. This is Paul, the Redneck Thinker. What we have here is a channel to communicate. I want you folks to be thinking by the time you leave my videos. Why? Because I'm tired of people talking via what other people tell them to think. So, watch my video and enjoy the chance to think for yourself.
From prominent defense attorney to convicted criminal, Thomas Clear III admitted today to running and leading the DWI enterprise, playing a vital role in helping get drunk drivers off the hook. KRQE investigative reporter Ann Perrette read through his lengthy confession. She joins us now. Ann?
He was defending criminals while running a criminal organization of his own, what the feds have dubbed the DWI Enterprise, which attorney Thomas Clear III admits to running since at least 1995, nearly 30 years. Now, this scheme that we've told you about was run out of this property, Clear's law office in Albuquerque. Clear today, he worked with, quote, numerous police officers from the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, New Mexico State Police, and Albuquerque Police Department, having them funnel people they arrested for driving drunk to his law firm. That defendant would pay, Clear requested cash, thousands of dollars, and Clear says he'd, quote, guarantee that the DWI criminal case and MVD process would be dismissed, meaning no criminal record and no revocation of their license. How? By paying officers with that cash or with gift cards, hotel rooms, or free legal services to, quote, intentionally fail to appear at required hearings. Clear says he roped paralegal Ricardo Mendez into the enterprise in 2008, a year after he hired him. And he, quote, purposefully had Mendez handle meetings with the DWI offenders on his own. It was in those meetings where Clear says Mendez requested the bribe payment. Clear admitted that he did this, quote, strategically to limit his involvement. With today's guilty plea to 9 federal charges, including RICO conspiracy, bribery, and extortion, Clear faces up to 130 years in prison. He also gives up his office to the feds. They moved to seize it last week, accusing Clear of money laundering at that office because they say he instructed officers and Mendez not to deposit the bribe payments in bank accounts. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Ann. A third former APD officer tied to the scheme has also taken a plea deal. Neil Ellsman pleaded guilty to 5 counts in federal court today, including conspiracy, extortion, and bribery. Ellsman, who started working for APD in 2014 and joined the DWI unit in 2019, resigned from APD in August ahead of an internal affairs interview. In his plea, he admits working with Clear since 2021 to get drunk driving cases dismissed in exchange for cash and other gifts. Out of the 5 people who have taken pleas in the case so far, Ellsman is the only one who has not faced a racketeering charge.
Welcome back. There were signs and tips through the years that something fishy was going on with the Albuquerque Police Department's DWI unit.
APD released a timeline today detailing what they knew and when, and it starts more than 20 years ago. APD has been investigating its own and trying to figure out how long the scandal has been going on. So far, their investigation reaches back to 2003. Detectives are still trying to verify a tip involving attorney Tom Clear and an officer failing to appear in court to get a DWI case dismissed. Fast forward 5 years, APD doesn't name names, but shows when officers connected to the scandal started working in the DWI unit, starting with Officer Number 1 in 2008 and Officer Number 5 in 2013. In 2014, APD launches an internal affairs investigation after a woman had her case dismissed. Her attorney, Tom Clear. The officer didn't show up to court, and both officers in the case were disciplined for violating APD policy because video of the arrest couldn't be located. But there was no follow-up to determine if there was a pattern of police misconduct related to DWI arrests. More years go by with more officers joining the DWI unit. The unit was up to 9 officers in 2019 who are now in trouble. In 2019, a turning point. The department makes changes to how it handles DWI cases as part of the DOJ agreement. 2021, an officer joins the unit, making it 10 who are now allegedly connected to the bribery scandal. April 2022, a suspect claims an officer took his license and drugs, saying he could expect a call after he got out of jail and wouldn't face charges.
And I was really proud of these people coming forward because I think it takes real courage to do it.
Attorney Damon Eli told us last March he went to the FBI after 2 separate people who didn't know each other came to him with similar stories. June 2022, the FBI sends the tip to APD's Internal Affairs, where the IA commander passes it over to the Citizens Police Oversight Agency. Nothing happens. December 2022, another tip to APD. The chief launches a secret investigation into 7 DWI officers, but didn't find anything suspicious. 2023, the FBI informs Chief Medina of its investigation, and they trade information with the feds taking the lead. More tips start coming in about alleged bribes as the chief and feds try to keep everything top secret. But January 2024, it all comes to light. The U.S. Attorney tells the DA about the federal investigation into officers, forcing the DA to dismiss 144 compromise pending cases. Officers start to resign one after another, with the chief saying there could still be more.
Continue to take action as information comes up and investigate these individuals.
It's been a year since the public learned of the massive corruption scandal involving a scheme to make DWI cases disappear. We now know the conspiracy involving police officers and attorneys dates back more than 2 decades. So when did Albuquerque Police Department's leadership start to get wise? KRQE investigative reporter Ann Perrette sat down with the chief about what he knew and when.
Loose lips sink ships.
A conversation at a bar in December 2022. That's what Chief Harold Medina says eventually led to the Albuquerque Police Department's investigation into its DWI unit. That's 13 months before the community learned of the public corruption scandal. A 5-page intel file shows APD received a tip from a concerned citizen who shared, quote, DWI officers described how some members of the unit would get paid to get a case dismissed. And the caller claimed workers at 3 bars in the Northeast Heights tipped off officers about customers leaving their establishments. But
we did an analysis and we looked at traffic stops and we looked to see if we saw traffic stops that were condensed around certain liquor establishments. And we didn't see that pattern.
So what now?
I knew something was going on. I just didn't know what. And that's when the decision was made that we're going to keep this as quiet as possible.
Chief Medina says at that point, only a handful of his staff knew. Without explaining, he asked to change his Monday meeting agenda to include an update from internal affairs.
Every week I get a list of cases that have come in, and I would look through that list to see if there's anything related to this DWI scheme. Because I knew that something was going to come in.
But he says the FBI would call first, nearly a year later, in October 2023, letting him know they've been investigating. We learned at least one of their tips came from Albuquerque attorney Damon Eli.
I was outraged. I mean, I should be. We should all be outraged.
Eli telling KRQE 2 people contacted him separately, sharing the details we now know made up the scheme.
The day they came in, I let the FBI know. And I didn't contact APD because they obviously have a conflict.
The chief later learned the FBI contacted APD's Internal Affairs Unit in June of 2022. And APD says IA Commander Mark Landavazo told the feds it wasn't a case he'd handle. It was a citizen complaint. But because there were criminal allegations, APD says Landavazo should have moved it up the chain. The department fired him over this in February of 2024.
How did that information not get to leadership to start making decisions? That would have been key. That could have unraveled everything even before the FBI came to us.
A month after the FBI filled in Chief Medina, in November 2023, more leads. Another citizen complaint, this one to the Civilian Police Oversight Agency from a district court employee. In her letter, she shares a former coworker received a DWI and, quote, there may be questionable conduct by the arresting/citation officer who put the driver in contact with a specific attorney, quote, who if hired would ensure that no court case would be filed in court by APD. Since officers are informed about citizen complaints, the department jumped to quash the CPOA's investigation to keep things quiet. Chief Medina says that prompted an emergency meeting with the FBI.
We started to work with the FBI to try to resolve this. And then, like, over the next 2 months, there was a series of gas that just got thrown on this, and it just really lit the fire.
Still, no officers have been charged, but the feds just secured a plea deal with a paralegal who admitted to helping run the scheme from an Albuquerque law office. In his confession, Rick Mendez mentioned mainly working with APD officers, but says members of the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office and state police played along too. Ann Perrette, KRQE investigates.
APD went through its records to look into former members of the DWI unit. The department provided us with a timeline of the evolution of the scheme. You can check that out on our website, krqe.com.
Bernalillo County Sheriff John Allen had no idea one of his deputies was involved in the federal DWI enterprise investigation.
How I found out was from my deputy. Our deputy called me or my command staff and told us that the FBI was at his door. So at that point, we told the deputy to do what he can legally, and he went down to the FBI office and he did an interview.
One of his own BCSO deputy, Jeff Hamro, now listed among 13 other law enforcement officers in the scandal.
What information do I really have to work with? Everybody's going to want me to open up this big internal affairs investigation case. That's going to happen.
But not for now. Allen telling us he does not want to hinder the federal investigation.
I won't start an IA. It's a criminal investigation now. So what people need to understand is when you have Miranda and you have Garrity, even if I started an IA and these charges that came up and my deputy is now giglio compromised, I would have to cease the IA to begin with.
That means Hamro is likely to remain on administrative leave with pay. APD, however, has opened an internal affairs investigation, and nearly all of their officers involved have been terminated, retired, or resigned when they receive notice to give an interview.
Now, that's not saying we're not doing internal audits.
Federal documents show officers and deputies from Albuquerque Police Department, BCSO, and New Mexico State Police worked with attorney Thomas Thomas clear his private investigator Ricardo Mendez to dismiss cases involving drivers suspected of DWI in exchange for cash and gifts.
The information that we had last year was we didn't have any deputies involved.
Allen voicing frustration with lack of details on the case, but tells us he will allow the investigation to unfold.
The most information I have is that my deputy was taken in that day. I was called by the FBI that evening, so I had to use my connections within the community to find out a little bit of what's going on. It's difficult and very aggravating to try to stop something or even to start to put safeguards in place and you don't have a lot of information to work with to begin with. And I will tell you the best information. I'm glad I went to DC for 2.5 weeks because all I did was sit back and watch every news channel's interviews and get all the information from the news channels instead of my partners at the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Do you think other deputies could be involved?
I'd be naive not to think any other deputies are involved. Do I have specific information saying that I know that deputies are involved? No, I do not. The only deputy that I know is involved from our agency, and I'll only speak for our agency, is Deputy Hammer, who I put on admin leave immediately. We'll let the investigation take place.
A New Mexico State police officer, once dubbed the DWI King, is now on administrative leave in connection to the DWI dismissal scandal. Sergeant Toby LaFave is the first officer from New Mexico State Police to be placed on leave pending both an FBI and state police internal investigation following more than a dozen APD officers and one BCSO deputy implicated in the scheme where an attorney admits he and officers took large cash bribes in exchange for dropping people's DWI charges. LaFave is well known for his service in the DWI department, even as the face of several DWI ads for the state's Department of Transportation.
I guess there's a reason why this badge sits right over my heart.
In response, NMSP Chief Troy Weisler says, quote, if it is found Sergeant LaFave's actions have violated the law or our policies, he will be dealt with swiftly and decisively. I also want to assure the public that our internal investigation is a top priority. In recent plea agreements, an attorney, his paralegal, and 3 APD officers admitted to taking bribes. LaFave has been featured in many KRQE stories. We'll have more on his history with the department. That's coming up at 5:30. And new this afternoon, the attorney who pleaded guilty to being the ringleader in the scandal is now banned from practicing law everywhere. Thomas Clear III was previously ordered to show cause as to why he should not face disciplinary action for suspected conduct in the so-called DWI enterprise. On Tuesday, Clear pleaded guilty and the New Mexico Supreme Court suspended him from practicing in the state. Yesterday, a chief United States district judge is forbidding Clear to practice law anywhere in the United States. Today, through his attorney, Clear says he will not fight the decision because he can't practice law in New Mexico after the ruling by the New Mexico Supreme Court earlier this week.
This scandal is still ongoing. They are still arresting people. These videos are from just a few days ago, over the past month, actually. So yeah, there's probably, if you aren't following this, you should start following it. I don't know if you knew about it, but wow. There is just a lot of people getting arrested. A lot of officers are just, yeah. Law enforcement in New Mexico, like I found out a while ago that if I was to just keep reporting on nothing but Albuquerque Police Department scandals, I could probably do one once a week for a year and still not have covered everything that is going on in Albuquerque. Well, folks, if this is what's going on in New Mexico, it makes me wonder what needs to be done. If any of y'all are from New Mexico, tell me, what do you think needs to be done? Maybe there will be some folks that read this. Maybe y'all will start reading it, go, hey, you're from New Mexico too. We need to talk. How do we fix this? And get together and do a grassroots movement and fix this stupidity. That's the only thing you can call this, stupidity. Well, I hope you liked the video. Subscribe if you can. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye. folks, I just want to say thank you for listening. I want to thank you for taking your time. I want to hear what your comments are about what you think on this topic, because your comments are what's important, not necessarily mine. I don't care if you're Republican, I don't care if you're conservative, I don't care if you're liberal, I don't care if you're Democrat. I want to hear your opinion on these topics. I want to thank you yet again for listening to my video. Like, subscribe, and all that other hoopla. This has been Paul, the Redneck Thinker. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.